Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Snam 2014 Interim Review presentation. Today's agenda will be structured in two parts. First, I will start by outlining the main highlights of the first half and some recent developments. Antonio will then focus on our first half financial results in more detail. The end of the presentation will be pleased to answer any questions you may have. Let me begin with the main highlights for the first half, as well as giving you an update on the business. For the first half of 2014, I'm pleased to report a solid set of operating and financial results consistent with our track record of delivery despite a tough environment characterized by a declining gas demand. Snam's operating performance over the period is underlined by the 1,044 million euro of EBIT, up 2.4% versus the same period of 2013. The growth in the operating result was driven by an increase in consolidated revenues and our continuous focus on maintaining strict control of operating expenses, with controllable fixed costs down 1% in nominal terms in the period. From a business segment perspective, growth at EBIT level was driven by the higher contribution of both the storage and distribution businesses, in which EBIT increased by approximately 15%, 25 million euro, and 2%, 5 million euro, respectively. The transport business accounted an EBIT of 591 million euro, almost in line with the level of the same period of last year, despite the reduction of gas volume transported. Leveraging the solid operating profit, the significant increase of 21.4% in net profit is also the combined result of the lower interest expenses during the period, the higher contribution from our associates, the reduction of the tax rate. Turning to CapEx, in the first half of 2014, we executed 526 million euro in investments, up 7.3% versus the same period of last year. Around 75% of the consolidated CapEx received a remuneration higher than the base return. 68% was the quota of CapEx with higher remuneration in the first half 2013 under the previous regulatory framework. The cash flow from operations of 647 million euro fully financed the overall CapEx and enabled us to reach the level of net debt of 13.7 billion euro at the end of June. Last but not least, during the first half of the year, we took significant measures toward lowering the average cost of debt and achieving maturity extension. Among all the actions already completed, let me just highlight the most recent one. Last week, we completed the renegotiation of pool facilities signed in the mid-2012 for a total amount of 3.2 billion euro, achieving savings in our cost of debt as well as a maturity extension. Antonio will comment on this in more detail later on. Let me now provide you with a quick overview in the gas demand in Italy, focusing on weather-adjusted data, which better represent the overall trend considering the unusual mild weather condition experienced during last winter. In the first half of 2014, gas consumption totaled 36 BCM, down 4.7%, or 1.8 BCM, versus the same period of last year. Total demand, not adjusted for the weather effect, reached 32.9 BCM, with a reduction of 14% compared to the same period of last year. The decrease was mainly due to the 15.5% reduction in gas consumption in thermoelectric sector, driven by the reduction of 3% in electricity demand, 4.7 terawatt-hour, mainly due to the negative trends in the macroeconomic environment, the 11% increase in hydroelectric production, 3 terawatt-hour, and the 3% increase in electricity import, as well as the increase in electricity production from renewable sources, mainly solar, for 1 terawatt-hour. These negative elements were only partially offset by a lower use of coal and oil products in the thermoelectric production. Gas demand in the industrial sector decreased by more than 1% on a like-for-like basis as a consequence of the declining trend in industrial production in Italy throughout the period. Gas consumption in the residential sector decreased by approximately 20%. This result was mainly due to the milder weather conditions during last winter compared to the same period of 2013. Adjusted for the weather effect, the sector registered a consumption almost in line with the same period of last year. Finally, gas injected into the network for the first half of 2014 was down by 5%. The decrease is driven by the reduction in non-weather adjusted gas demand, partially offset by a positive change in storage flow. Before concluding my session, I would like to give you some information regarding Italgas. On 11th July 2014, the Court of Palermo served to the subsidiary Italgas the measure for asset protection provided by Article 34 of a new legislative decree of 2011. Pursuant to a law and to the measure aiming to protect the asset of Italgas from any infiltration and or collusion and to verify the duration and actual magnitude of a set of evidence concerning contractual relationship with certain suppliers. The powers to manage Italgas assets and economic and business activities were conferred upon an administrative board composed of 4 members appointed by the court. Italgas board of directors has been suspended for the duration of the measure. Snam retains full ownership of the entire share capital of the subsidiary with the associated rights. The measure is temporary and has a maximum fixed duration, which in this case is 6 months, and may be extended for an additional 6 months at most. Based on the information currently available, Italgas supplier relationship identifiable in the decree appear to be limited and began in the first half of 2009. Currently, their cumulative value up to today does not exceed 1% of the actual overspending of Italgas on third-party suppliers in the same period. The potential impact of the measure on consolidated shareholders' equity and consolidated net financial position, as well as on the business continuity of Snam and the group as a whole, is considered to be not significant. Also, with the reference to the covenants relating to a part of the debt. By virtue of the control it exercised over Italgas for the entire first half of 2014 and its full access to the company's flow and information as of 13 June 2014, in accordance with the provision of the International Accounting Principle IFRS 10, Snam maintained the procedures for Italgas consolidation within the group. Consob informed Snam that in-depth inquiries are underway concerning the repercussions that Italgas matter may have on the procedures for entering the subsidiary into accounts pertaining to the period during which the preventive measure is in effect. Snam is actively cooperating with the court-appointed administration of Italgas in order to preserve, also consistently with the group strategy guideline, its business continuity. Specific information are provided in the first half financial statement. That's all from me. I will now hand you over to Antonio, who will discuss our first half consolidated results in more detail.
Thank you, Carlo, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm now going to review Snam's first half 2014 consolidated financial results in greater detail. First half 2014 EBIT amounted to 1,044 million euros, with an increase of 2.4%, which is a significant result consistent with our business model and RAB growth. Moreover, net profit increased by around 21.4% to 561 million, benefiting from the significant reduction in our average cost of debt, reflecting the debt optimization measures carried out in the last 12 months. The increase in income from associates, including the contribution of the AGF, and the reduction of the tax rate. Regulated revenues of the first half of 2014 amounted to 1,748 million euro, down by 7 million euro compared to the first half 2013. Net of pass-through components, regulated revenues increased by 5 million, reflecting the following elements. Transport revenues mark an increase of 9 million compared to the same period of 2013. The positive contribution from investments carried out in 2012, equal to 43 million, offset the tariff adjustment of 29 million and the effect of the decrease of gas injected into the network of around 5 million euro. Distribution revenues decreased by 9 million, mainly reflecting the effects of the reduction of the regulated return in the new regulatory period. Storage revenues grew by 7 million, mainly due to the contribution of investments carried out in 2012. The decrease in pass-through revenues, mainly due to the overall gas transport system balancing services. Other revenues amounted to 34 million euro, with an increase of 14 million euro compared to the same period of 2013. Moving to operating expenses, total cost of 354 million euro registered a decrease of 25 million, benefiting from the reduction of both regulated activities, net of pass-through components, and non-regulated activities. Controllable fixed costs in the first half of 2014 decreased by 3 million compared to the same period of the previous year. The strength of the performance in the period gives us the confidence to confirm controllable fixed costs as flat in real terms on a full-year basis, assuming the current perimeter and level of activities. Variable costs also reduced versus the same period of 2013, down by 5 million, while the decrease in pass-through costs was mainly due to the overall gas transport system balancing services. Non-regulated costs, amounting to 13 million euro, decreased by 6 million due to the dynamics of risk fund provisions, mainly in the distribution business. Moving to the cost breakdown by activity, net of pass-through costs, I highlight the reduction in the distribution segment, which was down by 18 million euros. Consolidated EBIT amounted to 1,044 million, an increase of 24 million euro, up 2.4%, which was the result of the increase in regulated revenues of 5 million, as already commented, the reduction in controllable fixed costs by 3 million, the increase in depreciation and amortization by 8 million euro, mainly due to new asset and starting operation, and other positive effects of around 24 million, mainly reflecting the reduction in variable and other costs and the positive contribution from non-regulated activities. Looking at the contribution by business segment, the storage business registered EBIT growth of 25 million, up 14.5%. The distribution business grew by 5 million, or 2%, while the transport and regasification business decreased by 4 million. Now I would like to conclude the review of the group's income statement by commenting on the net profit performance. First half 2014 net profit was 561 million, up 21.4% compared to the same period of 2013. In addition to the already explained EBIT increase, the other elements supporting the net profit growth were, first of all, the decrease in interest expenses of 58 million, mainly due to the upfront fees accounted last year, following the repayment in advance of a term loan financing, which was subscribed in 2012, lower average cost of debt, down around 60 basis points to 3.4%, that benefited from the significant debt optimization measures carried out in the last 12 months. This was partially mitigated by the higher average outstanding debt. Secondly, the increase in net income from associates of 14 million euro, mainly due to the equity contribution of the IGF, which, as you know, was acquired in July 2013. Thirdly, the reduction of the tax rate to around 37%, which offset the effect of the increase of the earning before tax. Now let me give you the update on the progress achieved on our debt structure. The first half of the year was characterized by a further disintermediation of the banking system, while maintaining a strong liquidity profile via a new recourse to debt capital market, both via public issuances and via private placements, for a total amount of 1,250 million euro. The reduction of banks' commitment for a total amount of 700 million euro, represented by the cancellation of a portion of certain relatively expensive credit facilities. Secondly, with regard to Snam's maturity profile, the issuance of a 10-year bond in January further supports our goal to have an average maturity of our outstanding medium to long-term debt consistent with our business and regulatory profile. With regard to the cost of debt optimization, Snam carried out bilateral committed facilities and negotiations of margins for an amount of around 400 million euro, and finalized the disintermediation of certain European Investment Bank financing for 300 million euro. Moreover, in April, Snam issued a 5-year bond with a fixed rate annual coupon of 1.5%. These factors allowed us to achieve an average cost of debt of around 3.4% in the first half of 2014, representing another step towards reaching the guidelines announced during the conference call for our first quarter results presentation. I will also point out that first half 2014 cost of debt does not factor in the renegotiation completed in July 2014 of the pool banking facilities for an overall amount of 3.2 billion euro, resulting in maturity extension and debt cost reduction. Turning to the cash flow, in the first half of 2014, the group generated an operating cash flow of 647 million, fully financing net investments of 543 million, and resulting in a free cash flow of 104 million euros. After the payment of the 2013 dividend balance, the change in net debt at the end of the period was equal to 404 million. Looking at the change in working capital, the increase was 256 million, roughly half of which related to payment of the non-structural trade payables accounted at the end of 2013, and the remaining part related to the building seasonality that will be absorbed by the end of this year, therefore not changing our previous expectations for the change in working capital at the end of the year. Let's now move to the balance sheet. Fixed assets increased by 163 million versus year-end 2013. This was mainly due to the new investment of 526 million, the reduction of capex payable of 38 million, and was partially offset by the depreciation of 384 million and subsidies of around 29 million. Total net financial debt amounted to 13,730 million euro, up 404 million compared to the year-end 2013. Thank you very much for your attention. We are now pleased to answer any question you may have.
Thank you. If you would like to ask a question at this time, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. Please ensure that the mute function on your phone is switched off to allow your signal to reach our equipment. Again, please press star 1 to ask a question. We will now take our first question from Alberto Gandolfi of UBS. Please go ahead.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. It's Alberto Gandolfi, UBS. I have a few quick ones, please. The first one is that, can you please elaborate on what you expect for the second part of the year and potentially 2015 in terms of cost containment? Specifically, would you be able to provide some million euros cost reduction you would expect versus a business as usual? Secondly, could you also give us some guidance for the rest of the year and next year on the cost of debt? And then a couple of more strategic questions. The first one is on Italgas. I understand the day-to-day business is effectively unaffected, the day-to-day operations, let's say, but under the event of this case prolonging for, let's say, the worst case of 12 months, would you be able to access the cash sitting in Italgas or generated by Italgas to pay dividends at the group level? So is there, to turn it in another way, is there any risk to the dividend if the court case were to prolong? And very last question, what is your qualitative thinking about what has been recently happening in terms of developments between Russia and Western Europe, and any discussion at the European Union level about new sources of supply into Europe? Could you be a main actor, longer term, of course, into this scheme of things? Thank you so much.
Starting from the first two questions, in relation to the OPEX of the group, you had the opportunity to see that the controllable fixed cost in the first half decreased by 3 million euro compared to the same period of last year, mainly due anyway to different phasing of activities. On a full year basis, we are confident in confirming the level of controllable fixed cost flat in real terms, assuming the same, the current level and the current perimeter of activities. As far as the other costs are concerned, although they are, more volatile and more difficult to be predicted, we believe that anyway, excluding the pass-through, the level we accounted last year could still represent a good proxy for 2014. Second question, the cost of debt. We think that starting from the average cost of debt we accounted in the first half, which is 3.4%, and on the basis of what we did also at the end of July with the conclusion of the new syndicated loan, we confirm the guidance we already gave of around 3.3% on a full year basis.
Alberto, for the third questions, before to answer the specific question, let me explain what has happened to you in the simplest possible terms. Between 2009 and 2011, a limited number of contracts were signed with a supplier, and to give you a sense of the magnitude of what we are talking about here, the aggregate value of the supplier contracts amount to less than 1% of the total value of the third-party supplier spending by Italgas between 2009 and today, only to give you a magnitude effect. The court suspects that the supplier in question had links to the mafia during this period or before. As a consequence, the court have decided to invoke an Italian law specifically aimed at preventing mafia activity and protecting the Italian company from the influence of the mafia. And the court have therefore appointed a new administrative board to oversee all business and the economic activity of Italgas. This arrangement will remain in place throughout the investigation into potential mafia links, and the court decree has set the duration of this arrangement at 6 months, with a possible extension for a further 6 months to a maximum 12 months in total. I would like to stress that this is not a criminal investigation. It is an administrative process. Snam is fully cooperating with the Judicial Administrative Board, and they are cooperating with us. We have an open and constructive dialogue with them. After the investigation is complete, it's clear that we expect Italgas to be returned to the administrative oversight of Snam, and for it to continue to be run in alignment with the Snam strategic plan. So, after the picture I have described, to answer the specific question, your specific question, Consob has informed us that they are carrying out their own analysis of the repercussion of the court decision to appoint this administrative board to oversee all the business and economic activities of Italgas, specifically with respect to the question of how Italgas will be treated in Snam accounts. We are obviously cooperating fully with Consob in this process. Regardless of the outcome of this analysis, Snam continues to own 100% of the equity in Italgas. Therefore, in terms of what is important to our investors, your question, this is I think is important cash flow to service debt and pay dividends, and the net income to contribute to the net equity. As we stand here today, nothing, I repeat, nothing is expected to change. Any cash flow and net income generated by Italgas will continue to accrue to Snam results. Any concern around the fact of how Italgas will be treated in our account for the period in question should not impact on your view or analysis of Snam ongoing financial strength. For the first question, the discussion at European level of Russian supplier, the discussion is in place. All the countries in Europe, in Italy particularly, are elaborating how to face with emergency in supplier during the winter period. We are evaluating all the possible connection with the European countries to support the new supply of gas in case of stop of the Russian gas. Today, the Italian gas market has not suffered from any gas supplier interruption from Ukraine. We are in the summer period. Consequently, we have lower risk of peaking demand, and we are confident that any potential disruption of Russia gas from Ukraine may be replaced by other supply sources. My opinion is that it's possible to reach some agreement and to resolve by the next winter the discussion in place from Russia-Ukraine. Anyway, I can say, let me add that we have available for the next winter the fully capacity of the storage. Today we have a booked capacity of 11 BCM of the storage, and by the end of July we refilling with 9 BCM the storage. So frankly speaking, I don't see strong risk in case of interruption of Russian gas. It's clear during the winter period, and with the all other supply from North Africa and north of Europe in the best working process.
We will now take our next question from Javier Suarez of Mediobanca. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Javier at Mediobanca. Thank you for taking my questions. I have also three. The first one is, again, insisting on Italgas. I'm right in saying that your message this afternoon is that you do not see any risk that as a consequence of the investigation of the judicial administration of Italgas, Snam may have any difficulty to pay the dividend. I just wanted to have a 100% clarification on that. The second question related also to Italgas is that if you could clarify if you should see any risk that the RAB of the asset under investigation could be also questioned by the regulator, in the sense that if there is some contract that has been, let's put it this way, inflated, someone could question the RAB value of the underlying asset. Do you see that as a risk? And the third question is related to the cost of debt and the renegotiation of some of the banking facilities that you have completed on July. I'm correct in saying that your target of reducing the cost of debt by to 3.3% by the year end is conservative. And putting the question in slightly different terms, could you give us a sense on the positive effect that the renegotiation of these banking facilities could have on your average cost of debt? Many thanks.
Starting from the last question, in relation to our cost of debt, in the first half we accounted an average cost of 3.4%. Line is 3.3%, also considering the benefit that we expect to have from the renegotiation of margins in the syndicated loans. Actually, we have at the same time extended the duration. Now we have 2 billion at 3 years and the other 1.2 billion at 5 years, with a reduction of the relevant spread as an average of around 80 basis points. The new conditions on this facility, on those facilities, are also the elements that are leading us to give you the guidance of 3.3%.
For the next question, as I said before, as we stand here today, nothing is expected to change. The same for the valuation of the RAB.
Thank you.
We will now take the next question from Giuseppe Rebuzzini of Fidentiis. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. Apologies if I get back again on Italgas, but just a question to understand how things are going there. I understand you don't actually have the control over the board of directors at the moment, because the control is retained by the Court of Palermo, as far as I understand. So again, you say there is no impact at all in dividend policy or even the possibility for Italgas to deliver its capex plan. Can you just comment a little bit, maybe on the capability to deliver the capex plan, since there is somebody else actually which is in charge to take decision about that, at least as far as I understand. Second question is on the tax rate. We see that it is about 37% in the first half of the year. Can you please update us on your guidance for the full year? Third question is about, again on distribution, it's about the resolution 367 2014 of the regulator about the gas distribution tender. If you can give us some comments about that, and if the outcome of it was what you expected it to be. Thank you.
I start with the first question. I can reassure, let me say, that we are in active engagement with the court-appointed administration and cooperating with them fully. The powers of the court-appointed administration allow them to ratify all ordinary and extraordinary decisions for the business. And inside the ordinary decision, there is the capex plan. But frankly speaking, I don't see a risk of negative impact. I repeat, we have an active engagement, an active cooperations, and the one point of the law set in the decree is the commitment by the new appointed administration to maintain and to increase the value of the company. There is the reason why, with the cooperation we have with the court, we don't see a risk in terms of execution of the capex plan.
We will now take our next question.
No. For the tax rate, we have also other to answer missing. As far as the tax rate is concerned, the one we accounted in the first half is a reference for the full year basis. We expect to pass from the tax rate for the last year of 43%, around 43%, to something between 37 and 38%. The reduction is due to the Robin tax, to the additional part of the Robin tax, which is not more in effect starting from January 2014. We also have some positive impact coming from the application of the so-called the ACE, and the reduction of IRAP, which are in force for this year.
For the Italgas, the new delivery by the regulatory body in terms of criteria and rules for the new bid for tenders, in last week the regulatory body published the new delibera and introduced the new provision to be applied exclusively for the new concessions in the multi-municipality areas. I think the delibera is very complicated, but I try to explain in very simple way the result. First of all, the delibera envisage the following. The asset-based value at the beginning of the first tender cycle is defined in a very specific way by the regulator. First of all, the redemption value, so-called VIR, in the case of the concession following the tender procedure, is assigned a newcomer. Will remain the asset base will be the redemption value. The regulatory asset base, the RAB, in the case of the concession following the tender procedure, is assigned to the existing distribution company, and at the end of the first concession period, after 12 years, the asset value in both cases, which is VIR or RAB, will be defined considering the updated of the redemption value, the VIR, and the methodology is the same updating methodology of the RAB. Only to say that in case of Italgas concession, of the new possibility of bidding for the new concession, we don't see different approach with the new deliverer. If you consider that in our case the industrial value VIR should be calculated net of subsidies, and so is very close to the value of the RAB. So I don't see different in applying the criteria for the new tender. The other 2 points are, I think, the positive return, because 1 point is the allowed operating cost will not be differentiated by company size, but they will be defined on the basis of dimension and clients density of the concession area. So I think it's positive because you know that there is a different approach by the regulator to recognize the operating cost in line or considering the company size. In this new deliverer, the costs are associated only for the dimension of the concession area, not for the operator who will bid for the new concessions. The last point, I think important point, concerning the allowed depreciation, the economical technical lives will be aligned to the depreciation life established by the ministerial decree to calculate the redemption value, which is the VIR, and in terms of impact, could be a positive impact in the calculation of the new RAB. Anyway.
We will now take our next question from Olivier Van Dusselaer of Exane. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to clarify one thing. The tax rate that you were talking about, 37 to 38%, is that the one you expect for 2014 only, or is that the one that we can take going forward, please?
No, this is the tax rate we expect for 2014. But anyway, we don't have any element for not confirming this tax rate also for the future.
Thank you.
We will now take our next question from Enrico Bartoli of MainFirst. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. A few questions on my side. First of all, on the distribution business, if I'm right, EBITDA growth grew significantly in the second quarter, despite the reduction in the return on RAB. I guess this is mainly due to lower costs, but could you please elaborate a bit more with some details about that, and particularly if the cost reduction that we saw in the second quarter is due to a different phasing compared to last year, or is something that can be repeatable over the next few quarters? Then I have a general question on, let's say, the regulatory environment in Italy. You are under discussion about the new regulation for storage. First of all, when do you expect the new consultation document to come out? And in general, since the government is very focused on trying to reduce the final cost of energy in Italy, if you see from your discussion with the authority any chance, possibility of changing significantly the parameters within the usual formula for the calculation of the return on RAB. Then if you can provide us an update on the possible acquisition of TAG, and finally, if you can update us on the guidance for net debt at the end of the year. Thank you.
Starting from the first question, it is true that there is also a different phasing in terms of cost, but I would say that the results in the distribution of the second quarter, if in particular compared to the second quarter of the previous year, is different. In the distribution revenues for the first quarter 2014 were accounted using a preliminary estimation pending the approval of the reference tariff by the authority. You remember that the new regulatory framework was approved in December 2013, and then only in March 2014 the authority approved the provisional tariff. Therefore, in the first quarter we accounted a preliminary estimation of reference tariff, and then starting from March, the provisional tariffs from the authority, with the application of such a tariff, starting in the second quarter, we have such tariff higher than the ones we have estimated before. We have concentrated in the second quarter the benefit. So it's just a matter of phasing of this kind of revenues. So for the rest of the year, I think that it is reasonable to expect the result not projecting this increase for the full year.
For the consultation paper of storage business, considering the timetable set in the first consultation paper, we expect the second one to be published in the coming weeks. The question for the energy bill, I can say that up to now all the measures approved by the government, but still to approve by the parliament, refer to the renewable sector and are focused on to reduce the impact on end users' price of the subsidies received by the power producer. But anyway, there is some general highlights by the Minister of Industry and general indication to the authority to set the tariff in line with the market condition of today. And I think we agree. I think it's the job of the authority to set the WACC, the risk-free, in line with the market condition of today. It's no news. But I can comment, I can confirm that in the decree there are the positive approach for the gas business, because there is the confirmation that we need the investment of flexibility and we need the interconnection with the European network for the gas business. The new investment in the gas business are considered in the decree and a way to reduce the final cost of the energy. Our strategic approach, the strategic view by the government to improve and to finalize the investment to decrease the final bill in the gas business. The last question for the TAG. For the TAG, I think there is no different news from the last comment. As far as TAG deal, we are in the process of evaluation, the details of the agreement with CDP, with Cassa Depositi, and we are confident to be able to maintain the schedule to complete the project by September.
There was also a question about our net financial position at the end of this year. We think that the result we accounted during the first half confirm the expected trend we have for the net debt evolution of this year. Today, our best guidelines is to reach at the end of this year a net financial position in the range of 13.7 billion euros, clearly without considering any M&A transactions, but it is important to say, but including the additional net debt of around 110 million euro related to the 100 of AS Torino, which Italgas has starting from 1st July 2014. So it is the guidelines is 13.7 billion, including the 100 million of additional debt coming from the ownership, 100% ownership in AS Torino.
We will now take our next question from Cosima Panzacchi of Bernstein. Please go ahead, your line is open.
Hi, thank you for the time. Cosima Panzacchi here from Sanford Bernstein. Two questions. One is more on the strategy. In the last few months, we have seen, I would say, several gas network players like Gas Natural Fenosa, Enagas, GRT Gas, pursue increasingly aggressive expansion plans outside Europe, and in particular in Latam. At the same time, we have also seen the remuneration of network operators coming under increasing political pressure in Spain and now even in the UK. Within this context, do you still uphold your European-focused strategy, or are you open to extra-European ventures? Are you considering them? And what's the status of your collaboration with Fluxys going forward? The second question is more operational. We know that you are planning to invest in smart metering distribution in Italy, and I was wondering whether this could actually change if gas tariffs are actually cut according to what the government is planning to do, and if not, if you imagine to get from smart meter implementation actually a better, let me say, operational efficiency than the one actually highlighted in your strategic plan, which, if I'm not wrong, projects flat, controllable fixed cost per redelivery point. Thank you.
For the first questions, to be very clear, our today activity of expansion in Europe is strictly linked to increasing the value of the interconnection from Italy to the European country. So we are focused for the corridor north-south of Italy, and the alliance with Fluxys is to implement and to manage in the best way the booking capacity of the transmission from south of Europe to north of Europe. We don't, our strategic objective is not a financial acquisition, but it's very close to the regulated business where we are sure to create value inside the regulatory return of the country. It is the reason why we are focused where we can finalize our investment, but at the same time we can operate the network transmissions to increase the revenue capability not only in the country, but with the connection, the board connection from the close country, Italy, Switzerland, Germany, UK. So it's very finalized, focused activity in Europe. At the same time, we are working to consolidate the business in the corridor eastern and west. There is the reason of the acquisition in France 1 year ago, 1.5 years ago, and there is the reason why we are discussing the possibility of acquisition of TAG in Austria. So it's very concentrated, very focused, our possibility of expansion. There is no intention for us to look at or to analyze acquisition outside Europe, but I can say more, outside the corridor of which we are finalize our business today. For the distribution, frankly speaking, we don't have in our capex plan an expansion and with acquisition in the distribution business in Italy. We are monitoring the evolution of the new consolidation process set with the new criteria for the new concession bidding process. Our intention is to manage in the existing asset in the distribution business with strong attention and control to operating cost. We have the capability to manage strong value creation in the operating cost. So our activity and our objective will be to consolidate the existing market of Italgas with the possibility, let me say, of new acquisition, new concession, but very focused to the management figures in the distribution business. Our objective is to maintain under control the EBIT to RAB. We are ready to increase our RAB, that means new concession, if we are able to increase our EBIT. This is the objective we have in the possibility of expansion in the distribution business.
We will now take the next question from Stefano Gamberini of Equita SIM. Please go ahead, your line is open.
Good afternoon, everybody. 3 questions, if I may. The first regarding the estimate of the RAB at the end of 2013 in view of the very low RAB deflator of the last quarters, which should be around 0.3 if I'm not wrong. So what is your best estimate of RAB at the end of 13? The second, still again on the TAG acquisition, I understand that you don't have any visibility right now, but if is it possible to have some information about TAG, like net profit or also the RAB, which was set by the end of 13. And the last thing regarding your dividend policy, you fixed a minimum DPS at 25 cents up to 15. The feeling we have, the market has, is that you could keep a flattish DPS even in the following years. And what is your evaluation in the current scenario with a 10-year bond at 2.7%? If you can share with us if you see some risks related to the DPS on 2016 onwards.
Starting from the question on TAG, as you know, we are in the phase of negotiating, and we have some confidentiality agreement that do not permit us to provide a lot of details on the target. What we can say is that TAG operates under a fully regulatory regime after the Austrian or after the approval by the Austrian regulator, and of the tariff for the period of 2013 and 16, and the regulation is has a RAB-based mechanism backed by long-term contracts with shippers. Moving to the RAB, the question related to the RAB at the end of this year, the project year-end RAB we estimate at the end of 2014 is around 24.8 billion euros, assuming a capex plan for this year of 1.3 billion, assuming a deflator for 2013 of 0.3%, and for 2014 for 1.3%, and assuming also the value of the RAB which is related to AS Torino, which, starting from July, 1st July of this year, is 1% owned by Italgas. The estimation also include the upside of the distribution RAB that is expected to come from the positive effect of the new methodology applied for subsidies inside the calculation of the RAB itself. So, again, 24.8 billion is the guidance for this year end.
Stefano, we have a third question. Could you repeat the question? It's
yes,
about
sir.
the dividend?
Yeah, in the current environment with a 10-year bond yield at 2.7%, do you see any risk on the 25 cents of DPS from 2016 onwards?
But the answer is the same. We also gave some weeks ago. We are committed for a dividend policy limited for the next 2 years. Also take into account that we have an uncertainty in front of us due to the new reset. The capability of the company due to following the regulation is to capture advantage or disadvantages in the medium term of different risk-free rates. We could have an impact in the short term, which we will evaluate. Today, the position is that, as you know, in our business plan, we do not assume a different dividend policy.
Many thanks.
We will now take our next question from Antonella Bianchessi of Citi. Please go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. Just to come back on the RAB at the end of the year, can you specify how much is the RAB of Italgas and therefore how much is the contribution of AS Torino to the new estimate? Then more, always on Italgas, you were planning to increase a little bit the size of your distribution business, opening the capital of Italgas to potential minorities. Is this still something that you are considering? If you can give us any visibility on when the first tender on the gas distribution that you're interested in will be implemented. The second question is on CDP rate sale to China State Grid, if this has an impact on your dividend policy in the sense that maybe the change in shareholder structure, the fact that CDP rate has some debt to be financed could add pressure on your dividend policy, or if you don't see any issue there. And then a more general question on the debt, on the net debt to RAB. Basically, Terna just said that given current market condition, they think that it won't be an issue to have a net debt to RAB above 60%. Which is your view on that? How much can be the debt? And last question, you're talking about expanding internationally. Do you think that any acquisition or additional investment could be self-financed? Thank you.
Starting from the first one, the RAB pertaining to AS Torino is according to is around 360 million euros. As a whole, the contribution to the total RAB coming from Italgas is in the range of 5.1, 5.2 billion euros.
Antonella, for the second question.
Sorry. No, for sure. 5.1, 5.2 plus AS Torino, for sure.
For the second question, Antonella, it's clear that is our strategy for all the businesses is to create value for our shareholder. In case of the distribution, when I said we don't have a strong plan of expansion of the distribution, the meaning is that we are ready to increase our investment in the distribution only if we have the profitability in our expansion. In this way, we will take into account all the possibility to proceed directly of the new bid for tender, to analyze the possibility of potential minority. We don't have on the table today the specific solution, but I don't think that the new bid for tender, the new procedure we start before the beginning of 2015, that is the reason why we are ready in relation of the evolution of the consolidation of the market to analyze all the possibility for creating value for our shareholder. The possibility means direct investment, minority, potential minority, but all the possibility will be open. The third question for CDP Reti, frankly speaking, I'm not used to comment about the decision of the main shareholder, our main shareholder. Anyway, we don't see change in our shareholder, in the shareholder structure of CDP Reti. The new shareholder structure of CDP Reti will not affect neither the corporate governance nor our strategy or the day-by-day management of activity. That is the reason why I can see impact in our dividend for these reasons.
As far as the net debt to RAB ratios, what we can say is that we are committed to maintain the metrics that we think are underlying with our supporting the present rating of the company, and we confirm the guidelines on maintaining our net debt to RAB and affiliates at around 55% during the plan.
Sorry, Antonella, there are 4 questions for international expansion. Could you please?
Yeah, basically, if you will consider grow internationally, and if this could be self-financed, or if you will have to buy assets with shares, or in a different way.
Antonella, today, we have, considering our evolutions after the completion of the acquisition of TAG, the discussion today, which is we are in the negotiation phase, but I said a lot of time that one point of the negotiation is the evaluation of different funding schemes, including a dedicated capital increase, in order, let me say, to allow to maximize the value of the deal and preserving at the same time the financial sustainability of our group. In this respect, I can say that we can have in the future the flexibility of a new investment expansion we had 1 year ago before the acquisition of the IGF. So this is the value of our flexibility in the future.
Thank you.
We will now take our next question from Jose Ruiz of Macquarie. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon. Just one question. During the negotiations with Cassa Depositi or TAG, how did you perceive the news flow that Gazprom was interested in taking a stake on OMV, which I understand is the other shareholder in TAG? And linked to that, can you give us how certain are you today that South Stream pipeline will finalize in Baumgarten in Austria and not in Torvisio? Thank you.
I can short answer saying that there is no impact of all the scenario you presented in discussion with CDP for the evaluation of TAG. TAG will remain anyway strategic, is the backbone in Austria. You know that there is an evolution in the relationship with OMV and Russia. There is an agreement officially announced by OMV with Gazprom to connect the South Stream to Baumgarten. Anyway, I can say that the TAG is a reverse flow pipe with a strong strategy interest in the reverse flow connection with TAG. The reason why I don't see, let me say, not a risk, but I see anyway positive impact in the evolution of South Stream and in the evolution of the possibility in the Austrian country to supply the European countries close to Austria with South Stream gas and with the reverse flow capability of TAG. So we remain TAG strategic anyway, considering the evolution of the new supply from Russia, South Stream, and consider the evolution of the possibility linking point Baumgarten or Italy for TAG.
Thank you very much.
We will now take our next question